I remember when Transformers came out, there was this very popular model by Google.
People are really so scared about this artificial intelligence, the adoption by companies, the layoffs happening.
We're trying to know that Google was the one that released that Transformer model.
In 2020, the Transformer models were like crazy because then we had the ChatGPT come out.
AI is not something that just found yesterday. It has been for a while, but it has not just found mainstream application until recently.
Hello, Biters, and welcome to today's episode of Future Byte. My name is Faustina, your host, and with me today is David, my co-host. How are you, David?
Hello, Faustina. I'm doing great.
Today we will be discussing on the big question, is AI replacing my job? So, David, let's start with a very quick history about AI. With the evolving move of AI into companies, into business processes. What do you think about this AI and how it came to be?
Yeah, so if you look at AI, you realize that even though it has gotten a lot of traction in the last couple of years, it has been for some time now. Actually, the word AI started in the 1950s in a conference. But before that, Alan Turing, one who consider him to be the father of AI, released a paper just after the World War, asking, can machines think? And that's an important question because during the war, he built a computer that helped solve a major puzzle that contributed to the early ending of the war. And what the machine did was to solve a puzzle, they call it the enigma, and then because they could solve that puzzle, they could understand how the Germans were communicating and they could decode that communication. And that was a very pivotal moment of the war. But then that could be a nice application of AI or of machines solving problems. So during that period, AI generally was, or the concept of machine solving problems was rule-based. Yeah, so you have machines tell it, okay, if something is the case, do something else, do something. But then after a while, we started to have, so there was what they call the AI winter during the early 90s or the mid 90s to the late 90s. But in the 1980s and so, there were the rise of statistical models like Bayesian models, regression analysis and all that. And mathematicians started to see how that can help people predict future things. So if something is strongly correlated with another thing, they can say, oh, if it gets to this point, or if the independent variable gets to this point, the dependent variable gets to that point. So when during that period, people generally were using these statistical models for machine learning, as you put it. And then there was another wave of AI winter until the mid 2000s. There was this very important competition that happened. It's called ImageNet competition. And the idea was there was a very large data set, and that data set was labeled to a bunch of animals. So you can have cats, dogs, different kinds of things. And so the aim of that data set, of that competition, was to build very good image recognition models. And so it was put to the public to train and release their models, and they would score it based on how accurate they are. And so before the rise of what we call neural networks now, people were using statistical models, like I have said, and the error rate was about over 20%. But in 2012, something revolutionary happened. There was a model called AlexNet, and that model was what spurred opened our eyes to how crazy AI can go. So basically, when AlexNet was released, it used a neural network for image recognition, and that reduced the error rates to less than 10%. And by next 5 years or so, the error rate got below 5%, which is better than what humans would do. So at that point, they considered the problem solved, and the competition was dissolved. But that again pointed to the fact that AI can be really, really powerful when it is trained the right way. Obviously, you know that, and then afterwards, we now had the rise of ALMs, and that was made popular by the launching of OpenAI.
Yeah, just for our audience who don't understand like some terms that we are using. So AI means artificial intelligence and LLMs means large language models. So just for context purposes. Thank
Yes,
you.
yeah.
David, you can continue.
Yeah, so and now we have LLMs, which would say is a bit based off on what we understood from neural networks, where you have a model that is programmed to work like the human brain. It receives an input. It kind of have different layers and different nodes, and each of those nodes kind of have weights that determines what the output will be. And so for every forward pass, it compares the output to the original results. And if it is not so, it adjusts the weights using in the backpropagation model to ensure that by the end of the training process, the final weight it can predict or the final output it can predict is similar to the original result. So that is how neural networks work. And now we have large language models that use a special kind of neural network called transformers. And now they are mainstream and everybody uses transformers or diffusion models.
I mean, in 2020, the transformer models were like crazy because then we had the ChatGPT come out, and right now we have new models like DeepSeek and Gemini with Google, right? Yeah, it's going crazy. So I think like the evolution of AI shows that human adoption is really in the speed, and it's also really good for development in terms of like technological developments.
Yeah, indeed. Just to say, I remember when Transformers came out, there was this very popular model by Google. In fact, it's interesting to know that Google was the one that released that Transformer model.
Oh.
And so OpenAI used it for their benefits, but indeed it was Google that discovered it. I remember when Google released that, and there was a lot of buzz online about, what this paper was about. The title of the paper, by the way, is "Attention is All You Need."
Oh, interesting.
And so, well, because it was using an attention-based transformer model. And so when Google released that model, well, there was a lot of buzz, but we could not see how practical it was. So for people in the AI space, they knew, oh, this is something huge. But for a normal human, they could not practicalize its importance until ChatGPT came on board and everybody saw how crazy it looked. So yeah, it's interesting to see that all the theories, we've had since the 90s. So again, it goes to show that AI is not something that you just found yesterday. It has been for a while, but it has not just found mainstream application until recently.
Yeah, and it keeps evolving. That's the most important thing, because right now we see the rise of also agentic AIs and, human activities being reduced and AI automation being applied in business processes. And that brings me to my next question, because what is actually happening like in the job market in terms of like, people are really so scared about this artificial intelligence, the adoption by companies, the layoffs happening. Just recently, we have over 215,000 persons being laid off from the United States tech industry. That's crazy. So you can imagine the effect of this artificial intelligence. So what do you think about it in terms of like the job market?
Yeah. So in fact, that's the major thing on everybody's mind. Would AI take my job? People compare this AI wave to the internet or to just normal computers, but I think it's a bit different. Yeah. When it comes to internet or the robots, they could do what they were programmed to do. Yeah, if I program a robot to pick up a red ball and put it in a basket, that's all it will do. It can't do any other thing. But what these guys are trying to build is what they call AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. And this is a kind of AI that can do all human tasks. So it's not exactly trained to do something. It literally can do every other thing. So it's like, in quotes, as good as a human. So if you look at the goal of what these guys are building, AGI, you are scared. You wonder, if really can have AGI, does that not mean that our jobs are gone? But I think if you look at it, what I would say, and it's what's playing out already, is there would be a bit of change in how jobs are being done. There will be a shift, really. It has to be said, and maybe radical. We can't tell. Even the people building these things cannot tell how these things will affect the work market. But it would. I'll be honest. It would, I think. But then I think there will still be a place for humans in the grand scheme of things. And right now, I think it's everybody just needs to take position and learn new skills, learn how to use the tool, because that's one of the first thing. When computers came out, it's people were thinking, do I need to learn this? But now it's an edge. If you know how to use the computer, I think now it should be a basic skill. So I think to just stay ahead of the curve, it's good to learn how to use AI. Don't think it's just for gigs. Learn how to prompt, learn how to understand, learn how to query, ask questions. Why are you thinking this way? Why not this other way? Because one of the problems with AI is that it hallucinates, even till today. And so you don't want to also take things hook, line, and sinker. You must be able to probe and say, are you sure you got this correctly? And those little soft skills, I think, will be important in the coming years.
Yes, I totally agree with the people who are, in the verge of losing their jobs because of AI, especially those in the junior roles where AI can do very basic things. They really need to really improve their skills on the usage of AI. But let's come back again to the companies, because do you think, of course, it's important that companies want to evolve with the usage of artificial intelligence, but do you think this would bring an idea of companies cutting down costs in terms of their businesses? Or are you saying that the accuracy of the job of the AI becomes more of high importance than when a human does this? Because again, in recent times, papers or researches has come out to say that we need the human in the loop, because of course with these agentic systems, human needs to be in the loop, because you can't trust the confidence level of the AI. And that's my question, because these companies, are they now looking at it from the cost-based perspective, or from the confidence level of the type of automated jobs that the AI can do and do it accurately?
So I think the primary goal of any business is to make money.
Yeah.
And for people especially that they don't care about, they're very rational thinkers. Yeah. I think the goal is to cut costs and increase revenue. As simple as that. Make profits. And the question then is, if this thing can do what a human can do, why do I need to employ them? All right. Like you said, we are now starting to see layoffs, in the workplace. And, first of all, during the during COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a lot of boom in the tech industry. And that was because, a bit of finance happened there. The interest rate was low. Companies could borrow. A lot of things were coming up again.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of tech boom. But now companies are wondering, do I really need this much people? Elon Musk, for instance, bought Twitter. And the first thing he did when he got the company was to lay off over 80% of his staff.
Yeah, he did.
And everybody was predicting that this guy is insane. Twitter is going to crash. They cannot cope. But Twitter is doing well. He has added a lot of features. I think Twitter is doing way better than it was before he bought it. So, and I think so eventually it's going to be a rational decision for many companies, really, and not really an ethical one, except humans are really needed. But then I think if it gets to the point where AI can do what a junior role especially can do, not of course giving it that power, the confidence to do anything, can do the basic junior role, I think, indeed, those junior roles may be wiped off.
Yeah, talking about junior roles, where do you think AI is really smashing it in terms of these jobs? Because it's also important for our audience to know what type of roles this AI would definitely be taking away their job.
Yeah, so I think it will cut across all markets, So if you can imagine any task you want to do, I don't know, let's say you're a social media person and you need to kind of, get ideas for your blogs or for your posts.
Yeah.
AI can help you, build a calendar. AI can help you write basic contents.
Yeah.
Now, the experience comes in by knowing, this is AI written, this is what I need to edit to make it sound good, to give it my own voice. But you see those basic stuff, even for coding, right? I can't imagine someone now saying they are boasting in knowing how to write a Python code that can write if-else statements. I think that's now too basic. Yeah. Maybe those days it was a bragging rights, but now it's too basic. And so there are now very basic things that would not really hold water and really cut across all industries. However, there are some industries that would very slow to adopt AI, and especially for industries that are data sensitive. So you have banking, for instance, or even healthcare.
Yeah.
Those guys are very, very slow to adopting technology.
Yeah.
So I think for people in those fields, even if it's junior roles, I think they will like that. They don't, bring AI into the system just for the data security purposes. But I think for any other role that is not so big on data security, they can literally get AI do the bare minimum, the basic, and then some mid-level professional can, use the work from AI to increase it further.
Yeah, just talking also about this ethical part of AI, because now on the European side we have the EU AI Act that has classified these AIs based on their risk level. So this, for example, the health area is also like classified as high risk. So those ethical parts of AI has to be put in consideration when we are determining if AI is really taking the jobs. For example, a doctor, maybe the basic things of decision making can also be left for the doctor in this instance, but probably trying to enter the customer data or try to retrieve some symptoms about this type of ill health or diseases that has happened to this particular patient. I think the doctor can handle, the AI can handle at this point. But the critical part of decision making has to be left for human, and also that also brings back this human in the loop thing.
Yes.
Because it's really, really important that as companies continue to adopt AI into their business processes, they have to make sure that ethical considerations are put in place. The decisions where humans are supposed to, make these decisions is also put in place, so that we don't have like a real transformer happening in the near future, because it's gonna be crazy and scary. Because that's how it looks like. Like it looks like we're gonna have like robots walking out everywhere, and there'll be no jobs for us. But yeah. I mean, it's interesting to know.
Yeah, I think generally, people can still be sure that, these jobs will not be taken away. Again, we can learn from history, because history most likely would repeat itself. When the internet came about, we were thinking, how will people, work? I mean, there are a lot of certainty with the internet. But then it came, I think, it opened up new kind of jobs. You have social media managers, you have digital analysts or digital marketers, So if you're a marketer, for instance, if you're a marketer before the era of social media, but you're focusing on word to mouth, or let's say publicizing through radio stations or TV stations, and did not pivot to learning how to use social media, I think that is when you'll be left in the dust. But then if you had learned how to use social media for your good, if you had started producing content online, video, pictures, then you will still be relevant. So I think, again, it's just a wake-up call for everybody to stay in the loop, upskill as always, learn how AI can be used in your role. And I think once you're at that level, you'll still find yourself relevant.
Good. So just to bring a better context, because now you've really discussed about ethics, we've discussed about how we really need human in the loop, we've discussed about the evolution of AI. But again, it's important to talk about what type of, apart from asking people to really go and, get these skills, do you have any pointers about the type of skill the person should have in terms of, for example, using, let's say, the ChatGPT or generative AI, for instance?
Yeah. So, again, it's going to be based on your role, your current role. But I think, first of all, using ChatGPT should be the basic, or any other chatbot-based LLM. So you have Gemini, you have Anthropic Claude. Just know how to prompt these guys to give you the kind of information you want. But there are also, if you want to again go to the realm of agentic AI, maybe you need to have tech skills. But AI can now help you do things. So it moves now away from just telling you things, but now to doing things. And you have a lot of tools that can do that. N8N is one. And then you program a bunch of things. For instance, when a mail comes in, analyze it, do whatever. And the AI decide on the right things to do and do it accordingly. So it's really an end-to-end pipeline that determines what exactly you should do. So agentic AI is actually going to be the next big wave. I don't think everybody can learn how to build agentic AI, but if you can, great. But I think at the bare minimum should be knowing how to do prompt engineering, knowing how to probe, again, like I said, knowing how to give context, knowing how to elicit, get information from the LLM, the right information you want, get it to do what exactly you want, and stand out of the crowd, really, because you also do not want to be the person that gets that copies and pastes.
Yes.
You want to put your own touch, and all.
So you need to really have this creative part of you, because of course the AI is not as creative as we think it is. It is only creative based on the trained data. But when we go to agentic AI, probably because these are, they train based on what they do and the processes that they go through. But when we're talking about like these basic chatbots that we have these days, you really need to know what you are doing, because even if it gives you the output from its training, if you don't know that this is the right thing, you may think like, because these days, let me just crack a joke, like AI is my new partner. Like I talk with AI like, hey, how are you doing today? It says, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, so I have this like discussions with it, and sometimes it just goes off and I'm like, no, you're not saying this. So it's really important that as humans also, we need to not allow our creative abilities to be destroyed because of the adoption of artificial intelligence into our daily activities.
Very beautiful, very beautifully said. I think, you see, the concept of AI creativity is still one that's up for debate. But I think you've put it right there. You cannot categorize AI as creative. It's literally regurgitating what it has seen.
Yeah.
Not necessarily new things. And that can also even, tie to, would AI take your job? Because AI only just knows what has been done in the past. It cannot tell you new ways, at least from my understanding, it cannot tell you new ways of doing things. Maybe it can find patterns that we have not yet seen, but for radical changes, for completely new innovations, AI cannot comprehend, except it has been trained on the new innovation data again. So yes, AI can be creative in the sense that it may see hidden patterns that we do not see on past data. But when we have radical changes, new ways of doing things, new approaches, for instance, if you're a programmer, new libraries, AI cannot write. Even a new programming language comes up today, AI cannot write on it. It's as simple as that. People say AI is better with Python and JavaScript, but the reason is simple. Those are the two most popular languages. So it has more, data to be trained on.
I agree.
Yeah. So if you're in a rare field where, AI doesn't know so much about that, or there's no so much public data in that field, I think you're a bit covered. Yeah. So in a way, we are saying it because this is the beginning. And it knows a lot of things from the past. But as things start to evolve in the future, maybe AI would not be able to catch up with the innovation of the world.
That's an interesting way to actually begin to wrap up our today's podcast. But do you have any practical takeaways? Like, I know you've told our listeners out there, the biters, about how they should upskill. But again, do you have any surprise, maybe real life scenario example to give to us on how we can actually see that AI is not really going to take this job, but of course we need to upskill to use AI. If you have any practical experience, but if you don't have, it's still like very okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask personal experiences, I would say, for instance, when it comes to software development, software engineering, I think although that is changing, but at least for now, what we find out is that AI can write one piece of code, two pieces of code. Actually, let's give it to it. It can actually write a bunch of codes at once. So we have to give it to it. But it is general knowledge that as the code base explodes, it starts to hallucinate. So there's still a limit on how large it can do. I mean, as humans, we underestimate how powerful we are, especially with our coordination, and now write very, very large code bases with different files connected together. We have architecture, we have all these things planned out, and it is solid. Yeah. But for AI, it's very easy for it to start hallucinating when the code base explodes. So if you look at very big companies, you wonder, do you think these guys want to put all their, stuff, in AI to do? I think, even currently, with how we have very good software engineers, we have a lot of bugs that cannot be fixed. Many of them are. There's hardly a company that doesn't have bugs. Is no way. Even Apple, that we say they are perfectionists, they have bugs.
Yeah.
So if humans can have bugs, imagine you having AI come and join that party. I think the number of bugs will explode. So it's like there's even more stuff to do, right? And also there's that rule that says that the more easy it is for people to do things, the more they do it. And the more they do it, the more opportunities exist. So you think, he is going to take my job because there'll be less software engineers. Maybe because people can now build websites easily, or they can build applications easily. We'll have more applications. We'll have more businesses. We'll have more people solve more problems. And that will be a cascade of more, opportunities for people. So I think the faster the adoption of a process, or the more people adopt a thing, the more opportunities it produces. So it could be that AI will lead to more job opportunities. So I would not say it's all doom and gloom. I think that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and let's just stay optimistic and see how it goes.
Good. I like that ending, because that's exactly how I wanted to end this podcast, because AI is not actually taking the job. It is reshaping how work should be done. So we have to see it as a partnership, not like an extinction event. So thank you, my dear David, for today's wonderful discussion. It's been very enlightening. But just to talk to our biters again, next week, we will be discussing still on the same topic, but on a more elaborate way, in terms of like what workers need to do in terms of like this AI boom. And so if you enjoyed this podcast, please don't forget to hit your subscribe button, send it to your friend, and comment, share your ideas. I will be in the comment section to actually talk to you and have this wonderful discussion. So thank you, David.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to the conversations in the comment section, and everybody, let's have your thought on what you think about AI and the future.
Good. So see you next week. Bye.
Bye.